have to decide how much of your income, no matter how small it is, are you going to put away in order to invest. It really all starts with a decision, whether you're getting $50 a week pocket money, whether you have a little, you're 17 or 18 and you have a little side gig, maybe you have a part-time job, whatever it is, decide how much of your income you're going to put away. Now you might be making $50 a week right now because your parents are giving you $50 a week in pocket money, and you might go, if I put $10 away every single week, that's really not going to move the needle that much. You're right. But what happens when you get to a point when you're making $5,000 a week? And that could very much happen for you in your teenage years, maybe even your early 20s, whatever the case may be. And you, for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, built up the habit of putting, for example, 20% of your income away. So maybe when you're 14 or 15, you're used to putting $10 away per week to invest. And let's say you land a high paying job, or maybe you start your own business. And as I said, you're making $5,000 a week and you are used to putting 20% of that income aside. That's $1,000 a week. That's a lot of money to be investing. So as I said, the first step here is decide how much money are you going to put away and invest. And think about it, not so much in terms of the amount of money, but in terms of percentage term of everything that you receive, how much are you going to invest? For me personally, I live off of anywhere from 10 to 15% of what I earn. If you guys have seen my breakdown of 2021, sort of like a year in review video, as all you guys may know, I made over $10 million in 2021. So I know some of the things I do might seem like, wow, that's so much money, but it's all, I don't know what word I'm looking for here. Proportionate? I think so. I would be very concerned for myself if I spent 70, 80, 90% of my income. And a lot of people out there spend more than they even earn. I don't believe in living below your means in the sense that, I see a lot of these like, multi-millionaire people, and they're just like live very frugally and they won't buy coffee and this. I personally just think that's stupid, right? Like this life, you only have one of this life. If you are being responsible and you're only spending 10, 15, 20, even 30% of your income, and you make a lot of money, who cares? If you're investing the rest of the money, you're protecting your future. You know that even if you stop making money for the rest of your life, you would still be good. And now I'll get on to a point that I'm going to touch on very soon. For me personally, I know everyone has different opinions. This life is there to enjoy. Live below your means as a percentage, okay? Let's say in a hypothetical world, totally hypothetical, someone might look at someone who is just enjoys their life to the fullest, like literally doesn't even look at the price tag of anything, and they spend $10 million a year. That might seem insane to someone. That might seem like total lunacy. But let's just say that person made $100 million a year, and that person invested $80 million a year, spent $10 million a year, and put $10 million a year into their savings, okay? So they saved just as much as they spent, and the other 80% of everything they made went to investments. And let's say that investment portfolio yielded them 10% returns a year. From that $80 million, they have just yielded $8 million a year passively from their investment portfolio. So the reason I say this is because someone might look at that person and be like,
oh, you're not living below your means, or blah, blah, or you're financially irresponsible.
I don't think so. As I said, for me, it's all proportionate, and it's all based on how much you make and what stage of things you're at. So living below your means doesn't mean, only shopping when there's sales if you're a person who makes a lot of money. Okay, so just bear that in mind. It's funny, I've started to look at the self-help industry and realize just how much bad it's doing for the world. Like just how astray it's leading people. Trying to tell people, hey, focus on your passion. Let me tell you something, what you're passionate about today, you won't be passionate about in a month. And sometimes your biggest passions in life, when money is involved in it, it doesn't stay a passion anymore. So what you're passionate about today is not what you're going to be passionate about in 30 years. But what you commit to today, you will still be a master at in 30 years. And let me tell you something, when you are very good at something and you know that, you always enjoy it. You may not be over the moon, passionate, elated about it all the time, but you always enjoy it and respect it. And you always want to continue doing it because you understand how much blood, sweat, and tears went into it. So in life, don't focus on your passions. Find something you're interested in, dedicate yourself to it, focus on being a master at it. Now, once you're a master at it, or once you're very good at it, then you can add some other skills on top of it. And that's really where you sort of stack your abilities and stack the portfolio of things that you're very good at. But the main thing is just please stop it with the passion bullshit. The things that you are passionate about should be your hobbies. That's your downtime, that's your off time, because those things can always change. But when it comes to your work, when it comes to your career, focus on something where you hate it for a long time. But it doesn't matter, you stay dedicated to it. This is where I have so much respect for the Japanese culture, because I see it time and time again. In Japan, teenagers will come on as apprentices and learn how to make knives, and they will do that for the next 60 years of their life. And I can tell you for a large portion of it, they probably hate it, or they find it boring. But it doesn't matter, they find something and they stick to it. They have honor for the craft. And I think that's That's really what's missing in modern society, is everything just needs to feel good and feel positive. No, focus on mastery, not passion. So the first habit that actually made me a millionaire was turning my phone on airplane mode. Pretty much the first 3 years of my business was built pretty much entirely while my phone was on airplane mode. And I'll explain why. You see, most people think that the reason they are not a millionaire is because of lack of energy, like they don't have enough energy or motivation to do something, or a lack of knowledge, understanding, and they think these are usually the two main reasons why. That is actually incorrect in 90% of cases. In 90% of cases, the thing that they lack is focus. Because if you have focus, then you will do the work, and doing the work and getting into that state of flow actually gives you that energy and motivation. And when you are someone who can sit down and focus on a task for a prolonged period of time, you will inevitably get the knowledge and information that you need in order to make $1 million. So this is why putting your phone on airplane mode is so important, because ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where there's constant notification, constant distractions. So most people, the phone isn't enough. Most people have, an Apple Watch with notifications going on 24/7, and their computer is binging here and binging there. You need to reclaim your focus. You should not let anyone rob you of the most important thing that you have, which is your focus and your attention. The next habit that made me a millionaire by the age of 18 was choosing the right vehicle. It absolutely breaks my heart to see people who work so incredibly hard, are so dedicated, but yet no matter how hard they work, by the age of 30, they will never even see $1 million. I mean, really, these are people who sacrifice all of their 20s. And the reason that is because they have not chosen the right vehicle. Now, the right vehicle is one of two things. It's something where either you're paid very well for your time, or it's something that you can actually use leverage. Now, when I say leverage, I mean you can outsource to people, you can hire people, you can build a product and it can sell without you actually being the person to deliver. Now, the business that I started when I was 16 years old, a lot of you guys probably already know my story, and the business that I've been running for 5.5 years now. The business that I started actually was a tick for both of those. It was something where I was paid very, very well. When I started my business, which is an online boutique marketing agency, at first it was actually a creative agency, the first year and a half, and I was paid good retainers by clients in order to shoot content for them and then actually distribute and grow their social platforms. And that was great. But really, after the first 9 months of doing it, I was kind of capped out at around $10,000 to $15,000 a month. So that's when I started to use leverage. I started to hire contractors, and I actually repositioned my offer to run ads for online businesses. And that was really when I started hitting the $100,000 months plus in my business. And times have changed, and the world is extremely different to what it was like 100 years ago. That said, some business principles are timeless. Now, 100 years ago, if you wanted to get rich quickly, and by the way, when I say quick, most people think quick means 2 months or 5 months. I'm talking quick in the normal world is, hey, I made the intention that I am gonna go from nothing to something, go from having average income to becoming a millionaire. Quick is 5 to 10 years. It's not 5 to 10 months. Normally 100 years ago, even right now, if you want to become a millionaire, from the point at which you get your degree, it'll take you 20, 30 years. So trust me, when I say 5 to 10 years, that is a good timeline. Now, I say 5 to 10, but it'll probably be a lot quicker for you. The second route is you work inside of a fast-growing company, a company where you can learn a lot. And you work in that company for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And then you take everything that you've learned and you go and you start your own business in a similar industry. And from there, you add in hard work and you absolutely take off. And you may even bring in 1% the amount of business that the company you used to work for, but that's fine because you have 100% ownership. Now, as I said, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 300 years ago, this would have been the path. The path would have always started with you working at a company or at an organization and understanding that in your early years, you need to prioritize learning over earning. Earning can come a little later, but in your early years, I'm talking specifically here as a student, as a teenager, someone in your early 20s, learning should always be the priority. So obviously, to build a brighter future, the best thing you can have by your side is an incredible woman. But at the end of the day, most men don't choose the right woman to have by their side. Most men that want to accomplish something big in life don't have a partner that understands their grand ambition and understands that they need a safe space at home. If they're going out and they're conquering and they're doing all of this for their future family, for their wife, at home, it needs to be a safe space. It needs to be a safe, loving, nurturing, caring environment. Or at least that's what applies to extremely ambitious men, which if you're watching this, I assume is a category of men that you fall into. So either men choose women that are too turbulent, or, and I see this a lot as well, men choose women simply based on their looks. And at the end of the day, looks fade. Looks fade, and so does attraction. And I'm talking about some of the most beautiful women on earth. I'm talking your 10 out of 10s. I'm gonna be very honest with you. For every, beautiful girl, 10 out of 10 you see, there is a man at home who's been with that person for years, and no matter how beautiful she is, he's bored of her attraction. He's bored of her looks. And that's just kind of what we're like as men. But so many guys are so stupid, and they think, oh, just because she's pretty, okay, cool, she'll be the woman by my side. It's very foolish, because if you have grand ambitions in life, it's gonna get turbulent, and you need a good person by your side. And that's really what I've noticed with the most successful men, and for me, the most respectable men that I've ever seen is, listen, if they wanted to, they had their turbulence in the past. Like they enjoyed themselves, they had their experiences, they did whatever they wanted to do. And some men that I meet that I really respect and are multi-billionaires, they've only had one partner their entire life, and that's beautiful as well. But whether you go down the path of high school sweethearts, or whether you have your Playboy era, the destination needs to be the same, which is an incredible woman by your side, and a woman that you choose not based purely on looks, or, oh, if I go to a dinner party and I got a beautiful woman by my side, I'll have more respect. Because listen, I can tell you high-level men, they don't respect that. I think when I see a guy and he has a beautiful woman by his side, and I know that it's just a little bit of fun for him, sure, that's great. But when that's his queen, like that's the woman by his side, and she's pretty and that's it, but she has no social intelligence, or they're at a dinner table and she's on her phone, or she just doesn't really know how to represent her and her man, what respect is there in that? So just understand, for the men watching this, and as you guys know, I speak specifically to men, but still shout out to the 10% or 12% of women that watch this. As a man, the most important decision you will make in your life is the woman that you have by your side. So if you want to win at this game, here are the steps. And they're actually kind of jumbled up from the order in which I gave you the 3 things I learned. First things first, find a cash flow business. Once you're done with that, sacrifice. Right? And just know that you're gonna have to roll up your sleeves and you're gonna sacrifice. And if you're not willing to do that, I don't know what to tell you. And then thirdly, start getting invested as soon as possible and write down that number, right? That real true financial freedom number for you. Step number 7 is you wanna increase your percentage of your income that you invest, okay? So once you start getting to a point where you're making more and more income, every year you should try to have your, the percentage of your income that is going towards your investment grow and grow and grow. And this, the reason that this is important is because of the last final step. And the last final step is really where you achieve the truest freedom in life, is only live off of what your investment portfolio yields you. So let's say that you have an investment portfolio. Let's say you're 25 years old and you followed all these steps. And let's say you follow these steps and, you're 14, let's say you're 17, maybe even you're 19 years old, and you follow these steps and you have an investment portfolio of $2 million. And if that sounds crazy, like, trust me, like, don't box yourself in like that. Like, don't limit yourself and your scope of thinking. So as I said, let's say you get to $2 million a year. Off that, let's say that you are yielding 8% a year. That is $160,000 a year passively. The truest freedom is when your investment portfolio, as in like your true passive income, that pays for your life. And if you can get to that point, and that's kind of a cool stage where I'm at in life right now, where my lifestyle can be entirely paid for by my investment portfolio, which means that all of the money that I earn in my businesses can go straight into my investment portfolio. So let's say, to give you sort of realistic benchmarks, this year the businesses will hit, I think combined, anywhere from, let's say, $3.5 million to $5 million profit, right? So if I can contribute, let's say hypothetically, an extra $4 million, and let's say I'm yielding 10% from that, I put another $4 million into my investment portfolio this year, and that means that I get back an extra $400,000 a year in yield. I've just gone ahead and from this year, 2022, from my business earnings, I've gone ahead and allowed myself to spend an extra $400,000 a year for the rest of my life. And if I go ahead and do that again next year, then that stacks and that compounds and compounds. The average person has a worse attention span than a goldfish, and that's who you're competing against. So on the good news, that means that just with the tiniest bit of discipline and work ethic, you are already ahead of 90% of people. And before we even begin, you need to understand that your ability to control your urges is directly correlated to your success or lack thereof. If you cannot control yourself, if you cannot be disciplined, you will never be successful. It is simply impossible. And that is why it's so important for you to master your urges. I've told people many times when they ask me, I go, listen, I am built for this life because I have an insane stress tolerance, but my life is not the same life that other people should live. But the reason you clicked on this video is because you want to learn how to become a millionaire. And as I said, if you want to get to that position, you need to increase your ability to handle stress. Now, bear in mind, one thing I will say, it's not something that needs to happen overnight. It's something that progresses. I can handle a certain level of stress in 2023 that I simply couldn't handle in 2018 or 2019. In fact, some of my biggest businesses with the most amount of employees, the reason that I didn't pursue or start those businesses or move forward with those businesses in 2018 or 2019, even though I was given the opportunity to, people wanted to start the businesses with me, give me equity, blah, blah, all this, is because I simply knew that back then, I did not have the stress tolerance to be able to deal with it. So it's not an overnight thing. It's something that you build over time. But as I said, don't come to the first roadblock and think, oh, it's tough. It's not meant to be tough. It's all meant to be roses and fairy tales. I'm just trying to give you very clear expectations. I think when someone can talk to you very openly and honestly and say that, listen, it's not all perfect, I feel like at least you're a little bit more prepared to go into war. So definitely I can say this about myself, and definitely I can say this about some of the most successful people I know in any realm in life, by the way. Any realm, whether that's sports, whether that's business, whether that's even a high income career, working for a very lucrative company. You need to be able to handle a high level of stress and embrace it. Everyone deserves an opinion, not everyone deserves a say. And here's what I mean by that. There are certain things in life that I simply do not know. I've not done the research. I don't have any life experience. And one of my favorite things when someone asks me my opinion on something that I'm just not very well educated on, I haven't really given much thought or time or attention to it, I just love being able to say, I'll be honest, I don't really have an opinion on that. Or I just say, I can't really make an informed judgment on that. So what I mean by this is I believe everyone deserves an opinion. Everyone can have an opinion, but not everyone deserves a say. And you need to understand that this applies to your parents, to your friends, to maybe sometimes even in your business. I will always take the opinion of everyone in my business, but some people, they deserve an opinion, but they don't deserve a say. And I don't mean that to belittle anyone, because there's areas of my life where I should definitely be allowed an opinion, but maybe I don't really deserve a say because I don't have enough experience in that to really bring anything meaningful to the table. So just remember this next time you're letting other people's judgments cloud that inner direction that you know you have, because a lot of people around you will give you their opinion, your friends, your family, all this, and let them have their opinions. But they shouldn't have a say in how your life goes, because who are they to tell you? Unless it's someone who's extremely successful at what you've done, then yeah, they should probably have a bit of a say in what's going on. So from day one, always distinguish what is an opinion and what is good advice. Those two things are very different. The first habit that actually made me a millionaire was turning my phone on airplane mode. Pretty much the first 3 years of my business was built pretty much entirely while my phone was on airplane mode. And I'll explain why. You see, most people think that the reason they are not a millionaire is because of lack of energy, like they don't have enough energy or motivation to do something, or a lack of knowledge, understanding, and they think these are usually the two main reasons why. That is actually incorrect in 90% of cases. In 90% of cases, the thing that they lack is focus, because if you have focus, then you will do the work, and doing the work and getting into that state of flow actually gives you that energy and motivation. And when you are someone who can sit down and focus on a task for a prolonged period of time, you will inevitably get the knowledge and information that you need in order to make $1 million. So this is why putting your phone on airplane mode is so important, because ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where there's constant notification, constant distractions. So, most people, the phone isn't enough. Most people have, an Apple Watch with notifications going on 24/7, and their computer is binging here and binging there. You need to reclaim your focus. You should not let anyone rob you of the most important thing that you have, which is your focus and your attention. The next habit that made me a millionaire by the age of 18 was choosing the right vehicle. It absolutely breaks my heart to see people who work so incredibly hard, are so dedicated, but yet no matter how hard they work, by the age of 30, they will never even see $1 million. I mean, really, these are people who sacrifice all of their 20s. And the reason that is because they have not chosen the right vehicle. Now, the right vehicle is one of two things. It's something where either you're paid very well for your time, or it's something that you can actually use leverage. Now, when I say leverage, I mean you can outsource to people, you can hire people, you can build a product and again sell without you actually being the person to deliver. Now, the business that I started when I was 16 years old, a lot of you guys probably already know my story and the business that I've been running for 5.5 years now. The business that I started actually was a tick for both of those. It was something where I was paid very, very well. When I started my business, which is an online boutique marketing agency, at first it was actually a creative agency, the first, year and a half. And I was paid good retainers by clients in order to shoot content for them and then actually distribute and grow their social platforms. And that was great. But really after the first 9 months of doing it, I was kind of capped out at around $10,000 to $15,000 a month. So that's when I started to use leverage. I started to hire contractors and I actually repositioned my offer to run ads for online businesses. And that was really when I started hitting the $100,000 months plus in my business. Now, I know that a lot of you guys may take this the wrong way and you may think, oh, that's terrible to think that, you're better than other people. Now, bear in mind, you're not disrespectful towards other people, but in certain domains, you're better than other people. You think Michael Jordan doesn't look at everyone around him and goes, yeah, I'm better than you guys? Do you think that industry leaders and shakers don't look at themselves and go, yeah, you know what? I've got something special to me. Now, when it gets dangerous, and I'm sure we all know these people, are the ones that think that they are special, but they won't put in the work. The reason you can think you are better than other people is because you have simply put in more hours, more time, and more work. So listen, you should absolutely believe you are special. You should absolutely believe that almost to an extent, you're better than most other people who are so brain dead, so asleep, are so scared to run towards the things they want in life. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with having these feelings as long as you back it up. Because if you don't back it up, then it is simply delusional. And I will be honest with you, there are lots of people, as I said, I'm sure you know lots of people that are extremely delusional. They're like, I'm gonna be a billionaire. Cool. Do you have a plan? Do you have any sort of roadmap? In fact, let's put that to the side. Have you even made $10,000 in your life? Have you made $100,000 in your life? So let's not talk about billionaire status yet. So as I said, you never ever want to be delusional in life. We should always have that feeling of being special, of being meant for more in life. I can tell you for a fact, growing up from the age of even 6 or 7, I just had that feeling that I was destined for more, that something great was gonna come out of my life. And that was even from a young age. And I remember even, in school at the age of 13 or 14 years old, feeling a sense of like, yeah, I was better than my peers. Even though at that time, I hate to use the word bullying, but I was being picked on heavily. I was a complete outcast, a complete outsider. Within the realm of school, I failed in every single arena you could think of. And yet I still had that feeling of like, no, I'm working towards something bigger. I was trying little side hustles and little businesses and this and that. So in life, humility is extremely important. And you should be able to assess your life situation and look at your life situation and not be like, as I said, these idiots that are like, oh, I'm gonna be a billionaire, and they just sit on their ass all day and don't do anything about it. You should feel special. And then you should put in a special amount of work, a special amount of dedication to prove it to the world. And that's exactly what I did.